Guys and girls, this morning we've got a very important guest, Mr. Anthony Metty. Hi Mark, hi guys, hi Lisa.
Hi Anthony.
Thanks for having us today.
It's a pleasure. We're all huddling together.
Huddling closer.
Just a little treat here. We're actually all out of breakfast together and thought, we've got to do morning minute. The interesting one this morning, guys, because we are going to be talking about Anthony's a solicitor and a very, very well-known solicitor on the Northern Beaches, HPL. In fact, I think you guys are the largest law firm on the beaches.
We are, I think, yes. We've grown to a team of about 25, 30 solicitors and conveyancers and staff, so we very much enjoy servicing people on the Northern Beaches and working with you guys.
Yeah, we do. We actually do a lot of work together. We don't refer easily, but it's easy to refer to these guys because they're phenomenal at what they do, but they're also available when we need them, and that's an enormous part of it. What are we talking about this morning, folks?
Bad stratas.
Yeah.
And because a lot of buildings these days, defects are very easy to issue these days. People are happy to get litigious very quickly, and it's scaring off buyers for good reasons sometimes, but more often than not for bad reasons. So we wanted to talk a little bit about what a good strata looks like, what a bad strata looks like. And I love with Anthony that practicality side of Anthony, because you're doing so many thousands of transactions. You can come from a numbers side of things and go, yeah, you know what, there is a problem when there's not a problem.
That's right. Look, Mark, we will never see a perfect strata report. So whenever someone's buying into a strata building, they need to appreciate that there are always going to be some issues. And it's really a commercial matter of working out, can I live with those issues? If the issues are significant, can we quantify those issues? And is there a buying opportunity to go back to the vendor and say, look, I understand that a special levy is proposed, and how can that be reflected in the purchase price? And depending on the nature of those issues, it's an opportunity to actually make money, because the building, if the rectification relates to upgrade works, painting, new balustrades, rendering, you're going to be left with a much superior product. And that being the case, yes, the $20,000 special levy may hurt. The inconvenience of the works may hurt, but the end result is going to be something that $20,000 is well spent. So I think you need to look at the nature of the special levy. Is it improvement? Is it upgrade works? Or are we just talking about fixing concrete cancer or waterproofing issues that you aren't going to see any bang for your buck?
It's an example that I had the first unit I purchased, which I still own, had a problem with the balcony fell off it.
Right, altogether.
The whole balcony?
Oh no, like a chunk of it, like 2 by 2
Wow.
meters. Wow. And when they replaced the balconies on all of the units,
yes,
I said to them, hey, can we render the building while we're there? At least if we've got scaffolding up, let's make the building look a bit nice. It was like a face brick building. That didn't happen.
Right. Okay.
So, and also we did a deal together, Anthony, on a property not that long ago. The strata report was significant in terms of the proposed works. I think it was something around $3.8 million thereabouts. Don't quote me on this. But we actually had negotiated, or I had negotiated with that purchaser to get $30,000 off to get the deal over the line, and that was just sort of safeguarding them. So there are ways around it. You can actually negotiate around it. A great solicitor will advise you, and a great real estate agent will assist you negotiating around it. What are some other things that you see, Anthony, with strata reports?
A common issue is the fire upgrade orders. So it's big. So new buildings tend to be okay. Older buildings.
Can we just talk about what that is for a sec?
Sure.
Orders?
So council's basically wanting to ensure that all buildings comply with current fire safety standards. So new buildings should already do that. Older buildings, some buildings are waiting until they're audited, and other buildings are taking the initiative to start doing the works now. The cost of those works can differ significantly depending on the size of the building, proximity to boundaries, proximity to good water sources, and what works have already been done. So if your building hasn't already yet upgraded, the risk to the buyer is what is going to be the cost of those upgrade works.
So in an area like DY, guys, where we operate a lot, we see a lot of 1970s style apartments.
Yes.
And we're dealing with this a lot. And it is, I reckon the first question buyers ask is, what's the price of the property? The second is, have the fire upgrades been done? Because the works can be significant. But again, we do see it a lot, and it's tricky, right? Because the older builds need the upgrades. The new builds have got their own realm of teething problems and probably won't build as well as maybe that 1970s style builds. So let's just talk about fire upgrades. Just back over to you, Anthony, if we can, because
Sure.
this is a big one.
It is. So it's usually the case that if council issue an order on the property, the strata will go out and get a consultant to work out what works need to be done. And then they'll go back to council with a plan to say, look, we can't expect buyers to be, or owners to be paying $20,000, $30,000 this year. How about we stagger the works over 3 or 4 years? And council normally will accept that. So once we know what the works are going to cost, you can then budget to get the works done, and a buyer has a good idea. The problem is if the works have not yet been scheduled, the costs haven't been obtained, the buyer is going in blind to some extent. So all we can say is, again, look at the type of the building, look at how many levels, look at proximity to boundaries, look at where good water sources are, but they're all clues as to where that final bill will actually reach.
What do you mean good water source?
If you're in an old area where there is, the starting point is that these fire upgrades need certain size diameter of pipes to service the building and within a close proximity. So if you have, say,
a strong jet of water.
Well, that's correct. So if you have 2 large multi-storey buildings on either side of your property, you're in close proximity. So you're not having to drill under the road or drill from 100 metres away, because that's where all your cost is added. To get that water, get that supply of water to the front of your building or to close proximity. So that will dictate the price as to whether or not the special levy is going to be $20,000, $30,000 or $40,000.
Are you cold?
It is a little bit cold out here, but
I'm really cold.
If the level of the building is, say, 6 stories and you're right next to a boundary, they're going to be asking you for fire sprinklers on top of windows. But if you've got nice setbacks from each side, less work, less infrastructure, less costs.
So the other thing that we see is special levies coming up for, we were talking about these balustrade upgrades and balcony upgrades. I just sold a beautiful apartment yesterday, 79 DY Parade. It's in DY, an older style building, but they had just done the beautiful glass balustrading.
Right.
So they've ripped off all the old balconies and put on the glass balustrading. Now, if you are having to pay a special levy for something like that, that is also adding value to your property. And I'm confident that was a big part of the reason why the property sold, because the block looked beautiful. As I said, we have these beautiful new glass balconies, but strata can be a really beautiful thing. We were talking about it last night at our first home buyer. It can be an absolutely beautiful thing. Just because there is a whole lot of stuff going on in a strata report does not necessarily mean that you should be steering clear of that property. You need to get some good advice from your solicitor, good advice from your real estate agent. Dig deep. Often a strata manager will not talk to a prospective purchaser. They will only talk to the lot owners of that actual property.
That's right. And the other thing is, show that strata report to a builder. Let a builder actually look at some of those issues and say, look, they're not structural issues, they're cosmetic issues. Or if these waterproofing works are required, then yes, it's a significant issue, stay away from it. Or no, it's more of a maintenance issue that can be easily dealt with. So get some solid feedback, because it's not really the lawyer's role to be providing building advice on the strata report.
Great.
But if a lawyer's got a building background or some commercial background, they've seen enough of them to know about it. But definitely get your builder to have a look over that strata report.
Yeah, and just on that, guys, I had a deal yesterday where a purchaser, the purchaser who ended up purchasing a property off me in DY, said, before I do anything, I want to get through a pest and building person. What you may not know is it's kind of a little bit of a waste, and by all means do your due diligence, but it is a little bit of a waste of money, because that pest and building inspector can only get into those 4 walls. They can't look at common property. They can't obviously look at roofs and things like that. So, yeah, just, as I said, it's not overly necessary with a lot of these apartments, but by all means do your due diligence. What's the... What's probably the biggest thing that you see in these strata reports? Is it the fire upgrade stuff?
It varies from suburb to suburb. So, as you said, in DY, we saw a lot of concrete cancer for those buildings that were built in the 70s where
It
they
seems like it's slowed down a bit now.
it slowed down a little bit. So they've worked out issues along the way. I mean, my favourite era, I think, is the 80s and 90s. So in the 80s and 90s, they got over the concrete cans, so they realised what sort of distances they should have been keeping from their balconies and how to
Right.
properly avoid that. And they weren't yet at the eras where they were building these buildings very, very quickly. And it's a lot of these later buildings that basically go up a level a week.
So you love it, 80s, 90s,
and
build, you're a
90s,
big
early
fan.
2000s, just a solid.
I reckon that's a sweet
It's a
spot.
nice, solid, well-built concrete slab, brick, and there's no shortcuts, and they're the ones where we're seeing less issues. So yes, they may not look as fancy as the brand new ones, but long term, I think they're going to be some good, solid returns there because
Yeah.
you're not spending money on special levies.
I
In the
agree.
early 2000s, they started getting dodgy.
They started working out around the Olympics how to build quickly and where to cut corners.
I thought of it like that.
Gyprock.
Waterproofing.
Have you ever seen a strata report with nothing in it?
No.
There you go.
They're always talking about something. Which is
There's
the same.
always something.
There's always
isn't there?
something on
Yeah,
the horizon. It's just a commercial risk that you have to take with buying into Strata.
exactly.
Do they allow all Serbian people to go into all stratas now?
Mark Serbian, just in case you're watching.
Yes, they have. There was a case against.
Finally.
There was case law that said no, you
Finally.
can't discriminate against Mark anymore.
Finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
I'm just not sure they allow all Mark Novaks in though.
This morning, Anthony and I got up at 4 o'clock, 4:30. We started walking. Then we went to Snow Gym. Then we went for a walk. And then we just had buffet.
And a swim.
And a
We
swim.
swam in the harbour.
I just actually was.
Are you swimming the harbour?
We swam in the harbour.
Yeah.
Mark swam.
Oh.
Mark swam
Harbour.
across to
Swim
Luna
in the
Park and
harbour.
back.
Well,
It was crazy. He's an animal.
And I just had so much food that I
he did, I can verify. He even had an ice cream.
had an ice cream cone after breakfast. After the toast, the French toast with caramel sauce. After the pancake with Nutella.
Now he's going to complain all day how sick he feels and how fat he feels.
Anyway, Tony, thank you very
All
much.
right, guys.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having us. Thank you for
Yeah,
having
that's
us. Sure.
really great advice. Phenomenal advice. See you guys.
It's really good advice. We're still going though.